So what does it take to be a sperm donor? If you're watching this video, you may be wondering, what are sperm donor requirements? Well, stick around and we'll get right into it. Hello, I'm Corlandos Scott, an assistant reproduction attorney in Los Angeles. If you're watching this video, you may either be a sperm donor looking to donate or a potential recipient who's looking to work with a sperm donor. Either way, you'll get what you need in this video. Today, we're going to discuss a few things. We'll look at sperm bank requirements for donors. We'll see whether there are different standards for sperm donors than there are for egg donors, and we'll look at the sperm donor screening process. Let's jump right into it. Here in California, one of my favorite and one of the largest sperm banks in the country lays out its list for sperm donor requirements. And at the foundation of it, there's just a few things you need to know. The donors they're looking for are between the ages of 19 and 38. They also typically want college-educated donors, so you have to either be attending college or have graduated from college. In some instances, they're okay with professional experience replacing a college experience. It should go without saying, but you also have to be in good health. And lastly, you need to be able to legally work in the US. Not a whole lot to it, right? It's a lot different than the egg donor requirements that we've discussed in other videos. If you haven't seen those videos, make sure that you subscribe below, click the bell so you get our alerts, and go back and watch it. Find out what the requirements are for being an egg donor. As far as the benefits of sperm donation on the compensation side of things, they're also very different than egg donors. Typically, sperm donors are compensated in a lower amount. And it's really more for compensation and reimbursement, rather, of expenses. But I should also say this. When we're looking at sperm donation, if you're a potential donor, you should know it should never be about the money. If you're donating sperm, it's really about helping a person or a couple who wouldn't otherwise be able to grow their family get the gift of life by being able to use these assisted reproductive technologies to grow their families. It's really about the dream of parenthood. If you're a donor and you're entering into a donation arrangement, you also want to make sure that you are familiar with the laws of the state you're in. You want to make sure that if you're doing what we call a live donation or a fresh donation, that you enter into a legal contract. And that legal contract has to be recognized by whatever state you're in when you do this. Make sure that you don't set yourself up for inadvertent parenthood. Speaking of being set up for inadvertent parenthood or unintentional fatherhood, I've got a crazy story for you. A few years ago in Kansas, a man donated sperm to a lesbian couple. Now, I'm not making this up, I promise, but he responded to their ad in Craigslist. Yes, it does happen. So he made the donation and brought it to the couple, and they did the artificial insemination themselves. They did it in what many consider a crude fashion, but it was successful. They simply used a syringe at home. Now, before we look down on the syringe situation, there are actually home insemination kits that you can purchase. I would typically advise you seek medical advice from a licensed professional, but just so you know, it happens. Well, here's how the story ended. Unfortunately, the couple split up and the genetic mother became ill. When she became ill, she couldn't work anymore, and she sought help from the state. But this is where the twist occurs. When she went to the state to get financial help, the state says, we need to see where the father is. Well, she says, there is no father. We had a sperm donor, and he donated to myself and my partner. The state of Kansas, though, said, we don't recognize that. So where is the human being that contributed the male genetics to this child? Well, ultimately, the donor was pulled into court, and the court assigned fatherhood to this donor. So this is what I mean by make sure you know what you're doing before you enter into a sperm donor arrangement, because without professional help, you're doing it at your own risk. I mean, think about how crazy that is. Imagine waking up one day and, as far as you know, you're not a father. And then waking up the very next day and having a 5-year-old. As crazy as it sounds, it's possible, so be careful. Okay, guys, give me the tea. Have you ever heard a crazy sperm donor story? If so, comment below and let me know. I am dying to read them. Let me know. Now, people also ask, is sperm donation different from egg donation? And in many ways, the answer is no, but in a major way, the answer is yes. Sperm donors go through many of the same screening procedures that egg donors go through. They're screened physically, they're screened mentally, and they're screened genetically. However, let's be honest, the commitment level for a sperm donor is way different from the commitment level of an egg donor. So once again, ladies, you beat us in the toughness category. Good for you. So speaking of the screening process, what is it like to be screened as a sperm donor? We talked earlier in the video about some of the baseline requirements of sperm banks, but let's dig a little further into the screening requirements and the screening process for sperm donors. In addition to the age category of being between 18 and 34 or 38, you also are going to have a blood test to test for any infectious diseases. In addition to that, there will be semen testing to test your semen for motility and for viability. There will also be a semen analysis to test your sperm for quantity, quality, and movement or motility. Just like in egg donation, sperm donors need to be genetically screened as well. We want to make sure that we're aware of any genetic disorders that may be present. We also want to get the general medical history of the sperm donor, anything from high blood pressure to heart disease or anything like that. We want a full picture of how healthy the donor is. Also, just like the egg donor process, we want the donor to be psychologically evaluated. This becomes especially important in a fresh donation where you've matched with a donor who you're undergoing the legal contracts with who will donate in the future. You want to make sure that there's no mental illness or no history of mental illness in the family. And last, there are just some personal touches that are important to many recipients. Things like knowing about the donor's sexual habits. Things like knowing of the donor's personality. I've even had requests to hear the donor's voice, to do a video call or even an audio conference so that they can get a feel for the donor both audibly and visually. At the end of the day, you want to combine the medical safeguards with just your personal preferences. And you do this by surrounding yourself with, you guessed it, good professionals. Even if you want to do it alone, make sure you would at least get some advice from someone experienced in this kind of thing. Well, now you know a little bit more about what it takes to be a sperm donor. If you're a hopeful parent and you're exploring sperm donation, you may also be looking into some other areas of assisted reproduction like surrogacy. Well, if you are, you're in luck. I have something for you. It's called the Surrogacy Roadmap, and it's a tool that I built that walks you through the entire surrogacy process from beginning to end. And all you have to do to get it for free is click the link below. So go ahead and click the link and I'll walk you through the surrogacy process, taking you from dream to reality. I look forward to seeing you there.